Hi, welcome to the video for the Retina Engrave overview. This is the software we use with our full spectrum laser. That laser is a 5th generation hobby laser, which is a 20-inch by 12-inch workspace. Okay, when you open up the laser Retina Engrave software, this requires uh, you can't install this software on any computer. Basically, you have a specific, it will only work after you have a specific login, which is related to, which has like the purchaser's information on it. So this was purchased through USG, through, I think, Daria. So if we saw uh, some type of, here, we have a profile associated with that and some activation key that allows this software to work with our laser cutter. So that's what we had to do on the initial install. Then when you open up the software, basically you'll see this. When you first run the laser, take some calibration for X, Y, and Z mirrors and use a test fire with that. So you can read the manual if you have to recalibrate the laser position. When you first open the software, we have these 3 tabs, and basically what those mean are the laser cutter has different ways that it can cut materials. This is a raster function, and this is a vector function. This vector will follow the outlines, and you have a specified current over here, and a speed and a power. So the current is probably the most dominating in terms of parameters as far as laser strength goes. And then these two go 0 through 100. So for example, if you just want to see the path, you could put the current at 0 and just watch it move around. Has also a number of passes. So say you want a thinner kerf to the laser cut, or a thinner cut line, you could go very fast, and you could do just several passes through that space instead of going slow with maximum power, which may sort of make the line a bit wider and melt more material over time. Okay, you can, in this vector function, you could click the line and then choose to disable that line, in which case that line segment will turn this light color. You can see this dotted line also shows you the direction of the laser. So I can click this. I could also reverse the direction that it travels. And this will re-enable it if I click the button again. Right? You can see the different colors here. Basically, if I choose a different color, it will add one over here. So say I want to cut out something, and say it's got a hole in the middle, and I don't want to cut out the hole until the very end because I don't want the piece to move if this exterior is cut and then I'm cutting something on the interior. So I probably would want to cut out the hole first and then cut out the outside. So in that case, I would make those lines 2 different colors, and I would choose to cut the hole for number 1 and cut the exterior as number 2. Okay, say I want to, we just did that project recently where we had stuff that we wanted to not cut all the way through on purpose, and then we wanted the exterior to be cut out, in which case you could change the speed and power settings of each of those different colors as well. Say I want a custom shaped vector. You can either watch our other video, which shows you exporting some vector from SolidWorks, or if it's a simple shape, you can put it in design view, where I can draw like a circle here, and I can move that circle. You have radius over here. I'm not exactly sure which dimensions these are in. It could be millimeters, but I'm really not sure because it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense that it's less than 2 inches and not even 50 millimeters on a radius. So I have to figure that out. You could do several lines. After you create this design, you just click render here, and then that design will get converted to the vector and be visible here, in which case this could also be scaled here in X and Y, and you'll see the inches here. When you're getting ready to cut the outside, you can also run this to run the perimeter, in which case the laser would travel along this box line to show you the absolute exterior dimensions of your object. What else? This is also to test fire the laser, so if you needed to run just a pulse, you could do that. Let's see. And you can see that this is not tied to the X or Y axis, but when you translate it to the vector cut, that it puts it at 0, 0. It shifts it up to the left. You can also copy and paste here, so if I want to make multiples, I can hit Control-C, Control-V here, and I can make more than one of the same size, which is useful. And I can use delete to delete those. If I just want to, say, laser cut a picture into something, like a raster a picture, I can just like Google image, maybe like Husky logo, and I could choose this picture. I could save it on the desktop. Logo. Then I can go into this, and in the raster engrave, I can open up that JPEG. Just choose all files here, double click that, and then you'll see it here. Some considerations are if you've got grayscale images or want something in high resolution, you can set this dots per inch to 1000 by 1000. It might take a little bit of time to convert to that, so just be patient if it's a large image. And then if you do halftone dither over here, you can also get some grayscale rastering in there, so you can tell the differences between, say, this outer gray spot and the different colors and stuff like that. And then when you actually raster some material, you want to play with these settings, these raster properties. I believe there's a threshold on the raster power, so nothing under about 20%. If you put like 15%, no laser power will come out. So make sure the minimum is at least 20. And then you can do a little bit of testing at lower powers to check if it's enough, or if you're doing it on wood to make sure it's dark enough. I know that pine and alder wood are pretty good for contrast. And if you're doing a vector cut, I would choose maybe my maximum thickness at about 3 millimeters or 1/4 inch acrylic or wood. And don't use any cardboard in the laser cutter. And there's also a list of prohibited materials on the cover of laser cutter, so don't use any of those, as well as anything that has chlorine in it or chlorine compounds like PVC. So don't use those. You can also invert the image. So keeping in mind that when you laser cut something, or whatever you laser will turn out dark if you're doing wood, but if you're doing something like a clear acrylic, then anything you laser will turn out white color. Or if you're etching into glass or something like that, whatever you laser will turn white. So it's a kind of a handy feature. You can also do mirroring, vertical or horizontal if you need to. Another handy feature here is the move relative. So say I want to make a bunch of cutouts. Say I'm doing this rectangle or whatever kind of object here, and I need to make a whole array of these, and I want to use my material very effectively. Then I see that the width is 2.74 inches. So if I want to make a bunch of them, after each cut, I can just move X and Y. So this is 2.74 wide. You can also see the dimensions of whatever you're laser cutting over here on the right for source image info. You can also scale these objects. So this scale right here, once you change, say it's 50%, sort of click somewhere else, and it will show you what the dimensions are after that scaling effect. And then you do have to click set scale here to actually shrink the image. So just be aware of that. And also have to do halftone dither again. All right. Make sure you choose a high enough resolution image or it will become pixelated. So in your Google Images, make sure that you have your size at like either large or medium should be okay. So your pixels will be large. Resolution will be better. Um, and also make sure that you home before you start, or else the position may be off, and you may hit the edges of your boundaries. So there is a small button on the laser cutter, but also you could click this home button, and that will bring it to the top right of the laser cutter. But generally, we'll cut from the top left, so you can jog it all the way over to the left. Just matters after you home it, the laser cutter knows where it is, so then you can jog it wherever. Yep. So that concludes the Retina Engrave software.